Today we continue in Luke chapter 6 and more really challenging words of Jesus. In verse 37 he says, "Do not judge and you will not be judged. Do not condemn and you will not be condemned." Think of how much on talk radio, talking heads on TV and social media, how much of it would disappear if people couldn't judge and condemn other people. It would end a lot of careers. It would end a lot of programs. But that's what Jesus says. Don't judge, and you won't be judged. Don't condemn, and you won't be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. And that's not even the verse of the day. That's just the prelude. And then in verse 38, Jesus says, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back." When I think about the character of God, one of the things I always think about God is just how incredibly generous God is. We worship a generous God who blesses even those who don't believe, who blesses the ungrateful, who blesses even the wicked. And you and I think, I would never do that. I would never do that. But God does, because God is so generous. And here you have this image of flour or grain being poured into someone's lap, if you will, into picture like an open apron. And it's not just put there, it's shaken, and you know what happens, right? It's just like when you open a cereal box and you're so ticked because it looks like the box is only 2/3 filled, and they get away with that by saying some settling may occur. You feel like you're getting ripped off, and we're dealing with shrinkflation, and nothing is the size that it used to be. Well, God is not in the business of shrinkflation. God is in the business of growth and generosity. So when God puts it into your lap, it's shaken so that it settles. So God can pour even more and pour until it's spilling over. And Jesus says, and that's how you and I are to live our lives as well. We are to be generous with our material resources, whatever God has blessed us with our time, with our spiritual gifts, with our wisdom and our knowledge. Each and every one of us, God is saying to us, be generous with all that I've given you. And you know what the blessing is? Is that when you're generous, you end up being blessed, right? Haven't you experienced that? How good you feel when you share of your time, your resources, your gifts, your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, and you give generously to help somebody else, and you come away feeling even better than the person who was on the receiving side. And that's because God has woven generosity into the very nature of life. Be generous. You never see people who are generous who are miserable or unhappy. They tend to be some of the happiest, most contented people around. Be generous today and every day of your life.